Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, where we dissect the intersections of horsepower and global policy. Today's story? A turbocharged trade war that's revving up tensions across the Atlantic. After US President Donald Trump rolled out his controversial super tariff, a policy walloping European industries with levies of 25% on cars, 40% on wine and cheese, and up to 55% on aerospace components, France didn't just swerve, it slammed the throttle. With President Emmanuel Macron leading the charge, the EU is no longer playing defense. It's firing back with retaliatory tariffs, forging new alliances, and redrawing the global trade map. Let's break down the key developments in this high-stakes economic showdown. Tariff Quake, the market fallout from Trump's trade Gambit. In May, Washington dropped its economic payload, what the media dubbed the super tariff. With European exports squarely in the crosshairs, France's high-value industries were rocked. The CAC 40 stock index took a near 3% dip. Shares of Renault, Stellantis, and Airbus plummeted like misfired pistons. Macron didn't waste a moment. From the emergency Brussels summit, he warned that failing to act would mean mortgaging Europe's bodies and engines. That metaphor wasn't just rhetorical horsepower. It was a call to arms for the EU's industrial backbone. Unlike Trump's 2018 steel tariffs, this new wave hit deeper and wider, sending the euro wobbling and investors scrambling. Behind the political bravado was real economic pain. US automakers signaled that parts cost hikes could hit consumers hard. Across the Atlantic, European firms reworked growth models, slashing debt forecasts and bracing for a manufacturing slowdown. The abstract threat of a trade war had officially screeched into reality, but the story didn't stop at market panic. France, refusing to be stalled, shifted into retaliation mode. France grabs the wheel, defending industry with precision retaliation. Macron didn't wait for the slow lane of EU consensus. Paris immediately joined forces with Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands to launch the European Crisis Tariff Network, a framework designed to automatically retaliate against US imports. Forget sluggish diplomacy. This was turbocharged trade defense. Why the urgency? France's exports are dominated by industries that are especially vulnerable: aerospace, Airbus, agriculture, cheese and wine, and automotive manufacturing. Macron's move wasn't just national pride, it was an effort to shield the pistons of the French economy from seizing under pressure. The EU Commission, with Ursula von der Leyen at the helm, greenlit a provisional strike list worth 95 billion euros. From auto parts to bourbon, nothing was off the table. Brussels also activated the WTO dispute mechanism and launched a 5 billion euros fund to insulate exporters. It was diplomacy with a torque wrench, retaliation paired with negotiation, showing that Europe can flex while still keeping the hood open for talks. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to Piston Pundit. It fuels our tank to keep bringing you expert, high-octane analysis on the automotive world. Now let's shift gears, because France didn't just retaliate, it started forging a new road altogether. Revving toward Asia, trade alliances in the fast lane. While tariffs grabbed headlines, France was working behind the scenes to re-engineer its supply chains. Macron's trade envoy landed in Tokyo and Seoul, pitching a tripartite alliance between Europe, Japan, and South Korea. The focus? Building a chip and battery supply network that could bypass US customs altogether. At the same time, von der Leyen unveiled plans for deeper EU engagement with the CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Backed by leaders like Polish PM Donald Tusk and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the proposal aims to create a new World Trade Club that might even supplant the aging WTO model. For Europe, this pivot isn't just about avoiding tariffs. It's about future-proofing trade itself. A CPTPP EU alliance would command roughly 30% of global GDP. That's not just a trade bloc, it's a power train. Harmonizing standards across digital commerce, environmental policy, and automotive regulation would give Europe massive leverage, especially as EV technology and clean manufacturing become central to global competitiveness. But with trade routes being redefined, the next battlefield was already emerging: defense. Defense realignment, from NATO burdens to new battle lines. The tariff firestorm didn't just heat up trade talks, it's redrawing defense blueprints. France, under Macron, is pushing defense spending past 2.2% of GDP, aiming for 2.5% by 2026. But here's the twist. The spending is staying local. European defense firms like Airbus and Dassault Aviation are snapping up contracts that once went to US suppliers. This could throttle the American footprint in European arms procurement. Meanwhile, France continues balancing its position with China. From partnering on nuclear energy to joint efforts on maritime security in the Red Sea, the Macron doctrine is crystal clear. Europe must chart its own geopolitical course, one that cooperates with Beijing when needed, without towing Washington's line blindly. Germany, ever the industrial juggernaut, is pressing for a quick diplomatic reset with the US, but only if it strengthens Europe's economic backbone. The European Central Bank is caught in a delicate dance, trying to contain fiscal tremors while deploying financial tools like liquidity repos to soften tariff shocks. But even as defense shifts, the financial pressure is mounting. Europe's engines are overheating. Industrial blowback, growth stalls, and resilience engines engage. France's economic dashboard is blinking warning lights. Growth forecasts have been slashed from 4.8% to 2.9% for 2025. Credit rating agencies are circling with negative outlooks, and the national debt-to-GDP curve is steepening. The government's counter? The Industrial Resilience Fund, a bold blend of EIB loans, pension-backed capital, and green tech incentives, all modeled after the US IRA but re-engineered with European finesse. And agriculture? It's becoming a front line. French regulators are now drafting health-based import standards aimed at US crops like almonds, corn, and potatoes. The tactic is clever. Apply pressure through carbon and pesticide rules rather than direct tariffs. It's legal under WTO rules, but packs the same economic punch. Still, not all EU nations are on the same page. Southern members like Italy and Spain fear blowback on tourism and farm exports. Yet unity holds, for now. Italy's Meloni helped broker compromises to shield aviation projects, and Greece tempered pro-China leanings in favor of Brussels solidarity. The global ripple is clear. US consumers could face price hikes. European exporters are losing market share in America, but gaining traction in Asia and Latin America. Macron's big bet? A decentralized trade map, with Europe at its center, not trailing Washington's slipstream. So where is this road heading? It's time to ask, who's really in the driver's seat? Crossroads ahead, who's steering the new world order? France didn't flinch. Instead, it floored the throttle, leading a united EU response, building Asia-facing alliances, and launching economic safety nets to keep its industrial engine running. But the road ahead isn't smooth. July 9th is the next major pit stop, the unofficial deadline for a potential EU-US reset. Will Europe make a U-turn and strike a deal with Washington? Or keep cruising toward a new world trade lane? The torque from this standoff could reshape global manufacturing, currency flow, and even military procurement. So we leave you with 3 questions to fire up the comments. Should Europe continue down this independent track, or is a US truce the smarter option? Do you think France's pivot to Asia is a sustainable long-term strategy? How will these tariffs ultimately affect global car prices, especially EVs and aerospace tech? Drop your takes below. We'd love to hear your thoughts from the garage to the boardroom. And hey, if you're enjoying our high-octane breakdowns, don't forget to subscribe to Piston Pundit and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next lap of updates. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.